Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to Matador News.
I'm Merrita Llarena.
And I'm Rebecca Lopez. The United States is demanding Russia's military to vacate the region of Crimea in Ukraine. President Obama says the Russian incursion violates international law and that Russia is clinging to historic sensitivities in regards to Ukraine. Both the United States and Ukraine see Russia's deployment of 16,000 troops in Crimea as an act of military aggression. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Samantha Power, condemned the Russian incursion.
There is nothing that justifies Russian conduct. As I said in our last session, Russia's actions speak much louder than its words. What is happening today is not a human rights protection mission, and it is not a consensual intervention. What is happening today is a dangerous military intervention in Ukraine. It is an act of aggression. It must stop.
Russia views the new Ukrainian government as illegitimate, but the United States says the Ukrainian people should decide their own destiny.
The standoff between Russia and the Ukraine continues as the Russian troops set up near Crimea's capital. Unmarked Russian soldiers have taken over the area. Russian flags are on the windshields of the armored trucks. Russia denies giving Ukrainian soldiers an ultimatum to move out or face a military storm. The Russian soldiers are not on high alert and have only been seen milling around. There has been no violence so far, but Russia is showing no signs of backing down. Russia claims the Ukrainian president called for the Russian troops, but Ukraine's interim prime minister says this is not true, and his country will not give Crimea away.
Danny Max is in the studio with a guest to talk more about the situation in Ukraine.
I'm sitting alongside Ian Smith, who is the interim coordinator for the Veterans Research Center here on campus. Ian has served with the Marine Corps from 2000 to 2005 and did 2 tours in Iraq. In addition, Ian grew up in Germany, and he's here with us today to talk about the escalating situation in the Ukraine. Ian, thank you for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Ian, for those of our viewers at home that aren't really familiar with the conflict going on right now, what is that exactly the situation in Ukraine?
Well, it seems like shortly after Ukraine sort of fought hard for their independence and ousted their current president, Russia decided to move in and essentially posture on their border, making a pretty strong case that maybe Ukraine needs some help from Mother Russia.
A lot of people are worried that the United States might take military action because Russia has engaged. Do you think that is a possibility, or do you think it's just all a lot of posturing?
I think it's a long shot. I think we've learned a lot, I would hope anyway, from our last few conflicts going into Iraq. I would imagine there would be a long UN involvement first. I highly doubt that America would get involved on their own. And so I think they're going to go the political route as long as they can.
And as someone who's seen combat and knows what it's like to be in a war-torn country, what is it like for civilians right now, Ukrainian civilians that are in that war-torn country right now?
I would imagine they're experiencing a mixture of elation, of free emancipation, if you will, but there's also that real fear of having troops at their doorstep and being threatened by a very real military force that they can't stand up to. So I'd imagine it's sort of a mix of all that.
What does Russia have to gain by being involved right now? What was the reason for them to kind of get there in the first place?
I think it's a power struggle. I think it's just sort of showing off their might to the world and showing that they're not weak, and it's all about strength. So, and I think Putin has made a pretty long case for that, a history of, if you will.
Thank you very much. Back to you guys in the studio.
More and more young people have been signing up for Obamacare, and premiums nationwide have dropped. The average premium paid for Obamacare has dropped $100 per month since October. The average age of people using the eHealth website to buy health coverage dropped from 44 to 36 from mid-October to late February. Attracting enough younger and healthier customers is crucial to help offset the higher medical costs of older, sicker policyholders.
The LA City Council will vote later today on a proposal to treat e-cigarettes like regular ones. City officials drafted the proposal after the director of Los Angeles County Department of Public Health said e-cigarettes threaten to make smoking socially acceptable after years of public opinion campaigns to discourage the habit. The ordinance would ban the use of e-cigarettes in places where you cannot smoke a regular cigarette. One exception to the ban would be vaping lounges where businesses allow customers to try e-cigarette liquids.
A new government study says doctors are the leading cause of the nation's drug epidemic and are the primary source of narcotic painkillers for chronic abusers. The finding challenges the belief that the epidemic is caused by abusers getting their drugs without the prescription. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention conducted the study. Its research director said the results show the need for greater focus on doctors who are problem prescribers. Prescription drugs, mostly narcotic painkillers, contribute to more than 16,000 deaths annually. Last year, the Medical Board of California created a committee to develop new guidelines for how doctors prescribe narcotic painkillers.
A new study found that people who experience anger outbursts are high risk of a heart attack. Researchers also say smoking, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and being overweight are contributing factors to a heart attack. Researchers say the best way to reduce the risk of a heart attack is by exercising, eating healthy, and finding stress relievers.
A Harvard study says the rate of major depression among U.S. soldiers is 5 times higher than in the civilian population. The study also found almost 25% of active duty and non-employed Army soldiers tested positive for the mental disorder. The study was unable to link the high rates of depression to the high rates of suicide among Army personnel. Further studies will be conducted to identify the precise causes of Army suicides.
Authorities in Georgia have arrested 14 suspects accused of traveling with the intent to have sex with children. The arrestees range in age from 21 to 64 and included suburban Atlanta elementary school principal John McGill. McGill and the other suspects were arrested over a 4-day period as a part of coordinated effort from 37 local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies.
A recent report shows the nation's winter storms cost travelers more than $2.5 billion in January alone. The price of a ticket wasn't the only thing costing travelers during cancellations and delays. The $2.5 billion estimate comes from extra costs including hotel rooms, taxis, food, and other unexpected expenses. There have been more than 90,000 flights canceled or delayed since December 1st, 2013. The airlines have also taken a hit with losses estimated between $75 million and $150 million. Besides the estimated cost, the average cancellation or delay costs travelers 18 hours.
After a weekend of cold weather and rain, it is slowly starting to warm up here in Northridge and the rest of the San Fernando Valley. This hour, we're looking at a sunny skies at 67 degrees with the expected high around 74 and overnight low of 50.
And now with sports, we have Nicole Edenedo. Sorry about that.
So when you think of the accomplishments of the greatest players in NBA history, most fans think about MVPs, championships, and career point averages. But there's one thing that Hall of Fame players Wilt Chamberlain, Michael Jordan, and Karl Malone all have in common: the 60-point game. LeBron James took to the court last night and became the 22nd NBA player and first Miami Heat player to score 60 or more points in a single game. King James turned in 61 points in the highest scoring ever in a 124-107 win over the Charlotte Bobcats. James scored 21 baskets and tried a personal best of 8 shots from beyond the arc. James has been on a tear, averaging more than 30 points per game through February. His previous high was 56 points in 2005 while on the Cleveland Cavaliers. James and the Heat play tonight at Houston on NBA TV. CSUN's men's basketball team suffered a heartbreaking overtime loss to UC Riverside 106-105 last Saturday. CSUN's Stephen Maxwell made one of 2 free throws and tied the game 83-83, sending it into overtime. Later, CSUN's Stephen Hicks hit a 3-point buzzer shot, tying the score 97-97 at the end of the first overtime. Ultimately, a missed free throw by Aaron Parks would give the win to UC Riverside. The team alone suffered a 1-point loss to Fullerton last Thursday, 82-81. The Matadors have a 6-9 record in the conference that puts them in the 5th place tie with Cal Poly. The top 8 teams will go to the conference tournament that starts later this month. If CSUN gets a berth, it would be their first conference tournament appearance in 3 years. CSUN junior guard Janae Sharp has won the Big West Player of the Week award in women's basketball. Sharp averaged 23 points and 6.5 rebounds in victories over Cal State Fullerton and UC Riverside. Sharp entered this season having never scored 20 or more points in a game. Her next point will be the 900th of her career. And that's it for sports. Back to you, Rebecca.
Police are searching for a carjacker in Pacoima. Police say the carjacker ordered a man and his 7-year-old daughter into their truck at gunpoint outside a library. Authorities say the carjacker forced the man to drive to an ATM and withdraw money. They say the suspect then dropped off the man and his daughter at an interchange freeway after being spotted by the highway patrol. But authorities say when the CHP arrived at the hijacked vehicle, the carjacker was no longer there.
A sexual assault and hate crime investigation is underway in the small city of Hercules in Northern California after 3 teenage boys allegedly attacked a transgender student. The 15-year-old Hercules middle high student is female but identifies as male. The student said he was physically and sexually assaulted by 3 unidentified males in the bathroom stall. This is the second alleged attack of a transgender student on the Hercules campus this year. A state law passed last year allows transgender students to use facilities such as bathrooms and locker rooms based on their gender identity and not their biological sex.
A federal court has ruled that keeping a schoolyard safe is more important than protecting a student's freedom of speech. The court says a high school in Morgan Hill in Northern California did not violate the constitutional rights of some of its students when it stopped them from wearing American flag t-shirts on Cinco de Mayo. School officials say they were worried about violence between Hispanic and Anglo students. The students filed a civil rights suit against the school. The federal court decision is expected to be appealed.
With beach weather fast approaching, the CSUN Student Recreation Center, or SRC, is offering many classes to get in shape. The SRC now has peer nutrition counseling to teach students how to maintain a healthy body. A variety of cardio classes are offered, such as the new Extreme Boot Camp. You can find more information on the hours and different services offered on src.csun.edu.
A candy store in Missouri is having some fun on Fat Tuesday. The Route 66 shop is handing out free fudge to anyone tipping the scales at more than 300 pounds. But the offer has become an issue in the Ozark town of Waynesville. One former customer said that it may be a joke to the shop, but some people will die of obesity. Shop owner Charlie Dill said it was just a way to invite people and come in and laugh. Dill has a track record. Last Labor Day, he offered free candy to pregnant women.
Ellen DeGeneres made the Oscars a night to remember.
And the Oscar goes to...
It was a night filled with inspirational speeches. Dallas Buyers Club actors Matthew McConaughey and Jared Leto won for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor.
To those of you out there who have ever felt injustice because of who you are or who you love, tonight I stand here in front of the world with you and for you. Thank you so much.
Newcomer Lupita Nyong'o won for Best Supporting Actress in her performance in 12 Years a Slave. The film also won for Best Motion Picture, making Steve McQueen the first Black director to win Best Picture. The show was packed with great performances. And a tribute to The Wizard of Oz. Sunday night's Oscars had the best telecast numbers since 2005. Thank you for watching the afternoon edition of the Matador News.
I'm Rebecca Lopez.
And I'm Merrita Llarena. Have a fantastic day, Northridge.